Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome one and all. Round 13 of Invictus Racing League for our PC divisions. We will get onto the standings for both drivers and constructors of both leagues momentarily, but just to give you some updates on some driver changes, some driver listings. There have been a few penalties dished out, and I recommend that you check the website, and just in general, check out our website, InvictusRacingLeague.com, if you want to check out any stewarding decisions, any penalties being handed out, getting up to date with driver standings and constructor standings in real time. Then do check us out there. But there have also been some driver removals, and I will touch on that in a second. But we're heading to China today, ladies and gentlemen. We're heading to a beautiful circuit in Shanghai. Let's talk a little bit about the driver standings and constructors and where we are in general. So, to clarify, for those of you who are just new, who are just joining us, be sure to subscribe if you like what you're seeing here. We want to keep up with the championship as we come to our closing stages. 2, we are running what's called a combo lobby this evening. So today we are running both the F1 and F2 leagues in conjunction with each other. Typically, we would have those leagues run in separate lobbies. You'd have separate commentators. But we made the decision recently for both, let's say, everyone to get a good chance with a populated field, as well as give the F2 division a chance to shine in the limelight, to say as they did, fortunately, due to some obligations and issues internally, they did not have a caster for the majority of the season. So we thought, rounding out the season, mix things up, make the racing a little bit more interesting, plus give them a chance to have some publicity, have the limelight that you deserve. We are running a combo lobby, so it will essentially be treated like a multi-class at Le Mans, so where you would have, say, your LMP1s, 2s, GTEs. It runs on a similar concept. It runs on a very similar structure. My voice is back to full health, so I can finally put in the full amount of energy that I would like to be putting in for casts, which is always nice. But with that being said, let's get to the driver's standings. First, we're going to check out F1, and then we are going to be moving on to the F2 league. Emir, of course, has to be said, absolutely blitzing the field, getting P1 in all bar 2 races that we have hosted here at the league, which is a monumental achievement. I would be very surprised if they don't get indicted into the Hall of Fame after this. But a monumental achievement for the first Mercedes driver. Following that, we have the 2 McLarens of Lenny and Cameron, both very consistent drivers, very consistent teammates, and really putting in that fight at the top end of the standings, really trying to bring it to Mercedes, especially as in the constructors, but we will get to that. So Cass having a little bit of a fall off. Unfortunately, they did DNF the previous race, and so that was very unfortunate. So right in the closing stages as well, just coming off the DRS straight back at Paul Ricard. They did have an off, and they did have a DNF, unfortunately, so that's pushed them back down to 4th in the drivers, which is not what you want to be seeing, especially when they were in such a tight battle for 3rd place in the driver's standings. Moving on though, so we had Joshua with a P3 in the previous race, so very good there from the AlphaTauris. And I think just in general, the AlphaTauris have had flashes of brilliance as a team, where they've typically been around the mid-pack, scored decent points every round, occasionally had a couple issues, but quickly picked it back up again. They have had these real flashes of brilliance just come as they come into their own. But also, one of the drivers who is in that same vein is Yeslad in the Alfa Romeo. While they're on track, there can be suspect to a few issues, though we saw a lot of drama relating to them at certain circuits. They do have the pace, and they have shown that they have the pace, and they can really bring it together when it comes to a race weekend. Following on from that, just a brief rundown. Joshua P5, Jasper P6 in the Red Bull, either been very up near the top of the pack or in a DNF. It doesn't seem to be an in-between with this driver. Frederick, say second Mercedes, generally getting okay points, but not quite bringing it to the same level as, let's say, the McLarens are right now with the P2 and 3. You can definitely tell that there is a little bit of a disparity between the two. And hopefully we see them improve, because Frederick has definitely shown some real pace, but I think their issue is in a little bit of car control. And then following that, say we had the majority of the grid not participating previously, and funnily enough, Emir and Frederick, speaking of the Mercedes drivers, they are actually not competing this evening. So this might be a chance for the rest of the F1 League to try and scalp some points, try and potentially shake up the little bit of the competitive order, and definitely try and bring some heat to the mid-pack of the driver's standings. But we're going to waste no time. We're going to quickly hop onto the F2 driver's standings before talking about the constructors. So hopping onto there, luckily we managed to get the graphics sourced in time. So we have Alessio. Strangely enough, both of our drivers' championship winners are not competing this evening. So Alessio is also not going to be competing from the F2 division, and that is quite curious. Coincidence? I will leave that to you, chat. But either way, we are definitely going to see some spicing up of the driver's standings. But here we go. So hopping on with the driver's standings here, we have Kent in second place. Owen, who was actually scheduled to be receiving a race ban, but actually got that overturned as of late. They did get that overturned, which is good for them, because this would have been a really good chance for them to score some points and really try and shoot up, try and fight for that P2 in the driver's standings, see if they can get that silver, because they are in a big fight. They're in a deep fight with that McLaren. Nicolites, a very good, very consistent Alpine driver, only had one DNF in the season so far, so very consistent there. Scotty, so a bit of a late joiner, but has consistently been at the very top of the field. Every race they've competed in and finished, they have had a podium. So really does speak to their pace, and when they can hold it together, and hopefully we see more of that performance throughout this evening as we head to Shanghai, that if they can hook that pace up and hook that pace together, then they will be on for some very good performances. We also see that in the F1 League with the two Williams drivers. They have exceptional pace, and I think this is probably one of the most difficult things to get a grapple on, is you can have exceptional pace. You can be the fastest driver on the grid, but if you don't bring it home, that's no points for you. So just as much as it is about setting good times, getting good pacing, it is just as important that you actually bring the car home. You don't ask too much of it, because you will be putting it in the wall if you're not too careful. But having a look around the rest of the field, one to note is that Jor-El, just a PSA public service announcement, they have been removed from the league, so they are P7 in the driver's standings, but they are going to be frozen. So they will not be getting any more points. They will not be competing in the remaining 3 races. I'm sure if you tuned in last week, you would have seen their interesting on-track conduct at the French Grand Prix, with the very large cut at the back end of the circuit in lap 5, the last sector. They will not be returning. So just in any curiosity, settle any curiosity in the chat that they are not competing. They have been removed from the league for multiple infractions, and that is the end of that. So just to dispel any rumors. But looking around the rest of the field, it looks to be very tightly packed, very tightly fought at the top end, because we have a 4-way battle for second place. They're all within 7 points of each other, second to fifth. They're all within that very tight margin, to the point where one race result or one DNF could spell getting a podium or being relegated all the way down to P5, even P6, because that depends on drivers like Byrus, who have been really coming up from the rear and really starting to score some points. Granted, they have been a bit of an inconsistent driver. We see multiple DNFs on that board, but if they can hook it up just with a lot of the other drivers on this field, they push it, but they don't know the limits. And I think that is one of the greatest skills you can have as a driver, is knowing your limits, knowing when to push, and knowing when to hold back, because the car may potentially be damaged, the car may not be able to take it, and it's a balancing act. Like with being in any competitive sport, it is a balancing act. But we're going to have a quick roundup of the constructors standings as well before we head onto the grid for our qualifying session, and as we just start to get all the drivers congregated into their respective teams and seedings. So first, F1 constructors. It is definitely heating up at the top of the field, and I will be honest, I will be very surprised if we don't see McLaren overtaking Mercedes for the Constructors' Championship. Both of the Mercedes drivers are not competing this evening, and if McLaren can capitalize on this and get some easy points, imagine a P1 and P2 for McLaren. Mercedes is relegated to second, and as much as they can continue to fight, the points balance between the two teams is so fine, that is so narrow, that I struggle to see Mercedes pulling away like they have been before McLaren started upping their game and getting their consistent points. But failing that, say, it looks to be fairly spread out across the rest of the field. We have, say, AlphaTauri doing rather well, holding a consistent P3, getting points in every race, which is always good to see. Aston Martin really having a bad spell as of late, unfortunately. Since the Monaco break, they have not scored a single point in the constructors' standings, which is rather unfortunate. That's looking down the rest of the field. Looks to be a little bit of a battle between Alfa Romeo and Ferrari for P6 in the constructors here, and also Alpine and Williams are really taking the fight to each other. Of course, the Williams team being very much latecomers to the field. However, they are still coming out strong, and on their day, they are scoring very good points relative to the rest of the field. And then before we head into qualifying, so just to check on the F2 constructor standings as well, Red Bull have a good lead, about the same lead as Mercedes and McLaren in the F1, so about a 20-point deficit. Alessio not competing means that, again, McLaren is going to be in a prime position to take P1. We could be seeing a McLaren clean sweep, but we can only have yet to see. But we are heading into qualifying now. Looks to be an overcast session as we head in. Of course, my name is Sappy. I will be your commentator for this evening. So, commentator for F1 and also Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsport. If you do enjoy what I do, I am on Twitch. Feel free to give me a follow there. But with that all being said, we are going to set ourselves up and we are going to have a look and start seeing some qualifying getting underway. First out of the pits, looks like it is the Aston Martin. And let's get ourselves busy. But personally, I'm very excited for today's race. It's certainly going to be a big one. It's going to see some very big shakeups in the standings, both for drivers and for constructors. McLaren really need to capitalize on this one, so especially in the F1, because for both teams and both leagues, for both leagues, the McLarens are in peak position. They're in prime position to take on the constructors lead, and both drivers titles are locked out currently. So Emir has taken the F1 constructors title, the drivers title, forgive me, and Alessio in the Red Bull has taken the F2 drivers title. Now the battle lies within the constructors, and a lot of these teams have the prime opportunity to really shake up the order and produce some real drama going into our final three races. Here we go, going to tack it along with the Red Bull here. It's one of the first few to come out. Going to try and set a banker lap early as they can. Here we go as we hop on the onboard. Going to try and see some of the pace that we're going to see on display. So of course, coming through sector 3, we're going to see a lot of overtakes, I think, in the actual race, as it is a DRS zone, not to mention the massive straight. We should see some of these cars hitting almost 200 miles an hour, which is a ridiculous pace. So as we start to see drivers peeling out and starting to make some moves, I do know that the strategy will be in the drivers' minds to get their banker laps in as soon as they can before the weather potentially changes. There we go, taking a little bit of a wide line through the snailing S's. Looks to be carrying some good pace here. So as we see some yellows popping up here and there, that is just where drivers are slowing down and speeding up, ready to get their prime launch. So far, Red Bull of Matt's looking very fast. So a little bit of correction here and there, but otherwise taking some very smooth lines through Sector 2. As although it is early in the day, we are seeing purples popping up. We come down the Sector 3 straight. What speeds we're going to be seeing? Okay, that's touching on 200 miles an hour. You know it's going to be an exciting race later on, folks. But there we go. So our introductory pace from F2 League, it's going to be a 135.7 from Callum there. Are we going to see anyone dethrone that on their first laps? There we go. So Matt's with a 132.9. Excellently done from the Red Bull there. That is a purple so far. Kent coming in with a 132.4 in the Haas. So the F2 League first to come out and really show their pace, but here comes the F1 in 131.4 for the AlphaTauri. There we go. So we see Scotty coming in. One's the ones to watch. Is going to be a 132.3. Big slowdown on the start-finish straight, but is leading the F2 League currently. So here we go. It's a 131.3 from the AlphaTauri, the second AlphaTauri of Joshua. That is going to be a 1-2 currently for the F1 League. It's going to be a lockout for them. A very solid Flyboy coming in with a 131.6 in the Williams. A very good showing there. To looking around the rest of the field. So very slow from Owen there, despite being in DRS. Not really sure what's going on with their car as of now. Looking at, say, Cass, doesn't look like they got a time. Looks like they had an invalidation. Let's quickly see how they take it. Really trying to carry as much pace as they can through the staying S's. It looks to be a very good line heading through there. Yep, keeping it narrow. It looks to be a very good first sector. Not purple, but still showing a good level of pace regardless. Here we go. So hopping in with a virus quickly, as they are also on an absolute flyer. So looking like they're setting some good pace. Is one thing that we need to be careful of is the drivers are going to be pushing those limits. Track limits are being heavily enforced, so drivers cannot take too much of the curbs. And we saw this problem a lot in tracks like Jeddah, where drivers were taking just a little bit too much of the curb, and a lot of their running times were invalidated. So just like there, they also need to be careful here. Looks like a little bit of a lockup from the Red Bull there. This is also prime time for drivers to get acclimatized to the tracks and the conditions. Things like track temperature, tire temperature management, all comes into play here. It's going to be 132.8 for Boris. That is putting them 6th on the board overall. And it's going to be 3rd in terms of the F2 League. They're going to be stopping right on track, right on the apex. Not the best place to stop, but they are doing it regardless. With the coupe, though, so one of our of course, one of the managers and admins, and they dedicate a lot of time to running this league, so massive shout out to them. But also, to compound that, as you can just see there from a little bit of the correction needed, they have struggled so far this season with getting their car under control. They may want to consider putting some assist on. It is a good pace with a 133.7 that has put them on the board and given them a banker time, but we have consistently seen Coupes struggling a lot with traction at the rear end, so they may want to consider assists just because they have had a lot of on-track mistakes. There we go, Callum taking an interesting line of avoiding action. But here we go, taking a look at the McLarens. Now, if there were anyone to watch today, I would honestly recommend the McLarens would be the ones. They're interesting going out on the medium compound. might potentially be going for an alternate strategy here at Shanghai, the strength of which is yet to be determined. Going for a lap on the mediums. The McLarens definitely for the F1 League will be one to watch. This is their prime time to shine here, and this is the time that they need to capitalize on the lack of Mercedes dominance to score as much points as they can and cement themselves back on the board. Okay, there's Lenny coming through. They won 38.3. May have had a mistake on track. Unfortunate for them, but they've got to pick it up now. So Jelly coming into the pits there. Owen coming in with, say, starting a lap. I don't think they had a chance to set a lap prior. So it is equal performance. This league is equal performance. If you want to check out our realistic performance league, that is held on Thursday. So be sure to check it out over there. If the McLaren get a 1-2, they do, in fact, lead the constructors. So they will include, if they also get fastest lap, they will be on... Like, they will be far and away leading the constructors, and Mercedes will have quite a tough job catching back up. Especially with only 2 races to go by that point. That hiatus will be very costly. Okay. Apologies there. A little bit of a bug out on the broadcast controls. Let's here we go. So hopping on with Jelly. Of course, they would normally be taking the Alpine... but that has been taken up by other drivers. So one of the things that we do here in the Invictus Racing League, say with the combo races, is we dynamically reshuffle drivers. It will still contribute to their original constructors. And there we go. That is a very good placement for Jelly, a 132 flat. But one thing we do is, if you are used to seeing certain drivers in certain cars, do not fear, they have not changed constructors. That is simply where they've been redistributed to get as many of people's preferences as possible in the time frame. So if you come in on a first come first served basis to say, yes, I will be attending this race, then you will get your original team. But if you confirm your attendance potentially later on, there is a chance that you will be reseeded to another constructor, but your points will not be affected. Here we go. One that I want to hop on with is Rin right now. So one of the 2 Williams drivers in the F1 League who has shown exceptional pace throughout their entire debut. So since the Monaco break, they have had a penchant for showing some brilliant pace, but not being able to bring it home. As we see here, as they really rocketing down, as say 200 miles an hour down the back straight before having to slam right on the brakes. So Cameron not doing well in the standings so far with a 150. They will definitely have to pick that back up. So we've crossed the halfway point in qualifying. There has not been any rain or any big weather upsets. So they will luckily... It looks like everyone will be able to get dry running in. Though whether the race will hold the same story has yet to be determined. As we see the yellows briefly come out, people trying to get out of the way and let people get stints in. We are going to hop in with Cameron now. I just want to see where they have lost time potentially. Come out of Sector 2. Looks like they lost a lot of time in Sector 2 because they were 16 seconds up on their previous delta. I wonder, is Cameron struggling with car control? Maybe they have changed their setup, but it looks like they're not as confident in the car as they would otherwise like to be. They seem to visually be struggling. And a brilliant pace, so that is Flyboy. They 131.169 in the Williams. That is going to be leading the F1 division. That is very good driving. But to break down our current standings, we're coming up to 5 minutes left in qualifying here. As Cameron comes across the line, it is going to be a 132.427. Very good pace. That's going to put them 8th overall. In terms of the F1 standings, we currently have Flyboy in first, the 31.1. Joshua just 2/10 behind in the AlphaTauri. Second AlphaTauri of Liam just behind. Then we have Cass and Jelly, both on 132 flat. Only 200ths of a second separating the 2 drivers. We have Cameron then following in 6th place for the F1 League with a 132.4. And Rin in 7th place with a 132.8. Lenny in 8th with a 133.6. Coop in 9th with a 0.7. And then for the F2 League, we have Scotty currently leading with a 32.3. We have Kent just behind their teammates. They're less than a tenth behind with a 132.4. Matt also with a 132.4. Byrus with a 0.8. Nikolite's just setting a time of 132.9. Very good from the Alpine there. And then Callum at the bottom with a 134.9. But so far, very good showings up and down the field. One thing that we are seeing at the moment is a lot of drivers really mixing it up with their other rosters. So we can see Scotty and Kent are basically in the heat of the F1 roster right now. And whether that will play havoc in the race, to say trying to get past your neighboring division, that will be one that is interesting to see. Now, because they are in different divisions, they will be... Oh my god, it's a spin from Kaz. That's going to definitely not be good for them. Can they catch it? Okay, managed to keep it out of the wall. Very dramatic spin there from the Aston Martin. That is not going to be good. That's certainly going to be playing havoc on their mental state, for one. That was not a good look for the Silverstone-based team. There we go, quickly trying to recover it and get back onto form. Hopefully set one more lap on those softs. Probably now flat spotted, mind you. We'll probably try to set one more lap before heading into the pits. So we are running low on time. We're coming to the last few minutes of this qualifying session. Is a short one. So having a look here with Nikolite. So they're going to head into the pits, probably because this lap was invalidated. They are going to be heading into the pits right now. And it looks like we may see Cass doing the same. Yes, they are. Oh, okay. And just as we tune in, that's going to be a spin from Virus there. Not looking good. Potentially took it way too deep in the incline of that back straight. Yeah, so potentially took it too deep and just let the rear spin. Very unfortunate there for the Red Bull, who was otherwise doing very well in their respective division. Will they potentially have enough time, though, to set one last lap? So we're heading into the pits as they've got 2 minutes now. This is where drivers are going to be coming into the pits, getting as much heat into their tyres as they can, so that they can go for one last flyer. We should start to see it now. As we see Owen coming through here. Looks like they're on a flyer right now. So I'm going to hop on board with them and see how they're doing. It's looking very solid for the Mercedes. Taking some very good lines. Looks like they have some good control of the car. Doesn't look like they're suffering from any oversteering woes that some of the other drivers have had. Looks to have a very good handle on things. They are currently fastest. This is currently their fastest run so far. They're going to push it coming onto the back straight. They're going to keep it together. Nope. Looks like they had a little bit of an over rotation, but they corrected it very quickly. There we go. You can see 200 miles an hour. 201. I think that is our fastest speed trap coming down the back straight here. As you can see, I believe that was Scotty stopping on track to try and get a flyer in at the last possible second, try and match up with that time. There's going to be a 132.4 from Owen. It's not going to be much difference in the grand scheme of things, but that is still time off the board, and that is still pushing them up to higher positions. And with that all being said, I think that is going to be their qualifying done. So this is where we start to see the lucky drivers who have made it across. It's going to be a 130.994 from the AlphaTauri of Joshua there. That is a brilliant showing. You can see they're going to go round again and try and push it even harder. They've worked those softs and they want to maximize it while they have that extra chance. First driver to crack the 130s. Excellent driving there from that AlphaTauri. But so checking on their teammate here who is just behind. Might even be in range of getting a tow off them. Looking around, you can see all of the drivers on the track are starting to come back out and are going to be going for their last flying runs now. Everyone's aiming to be crossing a line within the last 10 seconds here. I'm going to be hopping on with McLarens because, oh my god, Cameron is off. Cameron is at the side. Cameron's lost grip, and is that going to be quali over for them? That is going to be quali over for the McLarens. They are just too slow to make it to the session. They're going to be just a little bit too slow. That is unfortunate. So they're going to be 6th and 9th in the grid order. So by no means is that a bad position, but they still would have liked to aim a lot higher considering how important this race is. You can see getting a tow here, hitting speeds of 204, 205 miles an hour. You know, really pushing is absolutely all to play for. Joshua being a very good teammate there, letting Liam go by and take advantage of the tow there. So going to be a lot of the curb. It's going to be a 131.039. That is a first row lockout for the AlphaTauris. And what an excellent drive that was from both team members. But as we start to see the last few drivers heading in now, looks like Nikolai's is going to be fighting for space with Jelly on track here. Looks like they're going to have to abandon. I'm not sure if that was an obstruction. Unfortunately, we didn't get the context beforehand. It's going to get a little bit wide. Cass with a 30.967 is going to be taking pole position here in qualifying, as that is the last few runs coming through here. Jelly with a 131.7. It's a good final showing, and 1 millisecond behind their personal best. The insane levels of consistency from this driver. Definitely something to behold. But there we go. There is your qualifying standings, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly a very interesting session that we just saw. The top echelon of drivers separated by tenths, if not milliseconds, which is really crazy and just a testament to how fast some of these drivers we have in the league today. And there we go. Cass with a last-minute surprise. Second driver to take the 130 barrier with a 967 is going to be your pole position here in Shanghai. But with no Emir, with no Frederick, I would love to hear in the chat your predictions for who is going to be winning maybe the F1 League, who's going to be winning the F2, if you expect any upsets or chaos in the race. Be sure to let us know. Let us know in chat. We'd love to hear your predictions as we get ourselves set up for race day. Looks to be a fairly dry race, which is certainly a surprise. I knew I came in expecting... I thought the guy was on a hot lap when I was on my out lap. Oh, that is such as the difficulties with having other traffic around you in qualifying. You need to negotiate that. And of course, we didn't get the full context, but we will definitely see some crazy driving here. But let us know your predictions as we get set up for a race here. Say, I was personally expecting it to be wet. Whether the weather changes as the race goes on, yet to be seen. It is still looking a little bit cloudy, so we can't exactly hold out that it is going to be a perfectly dry race. There we go, as we get ourselves set up here. So we get ourselves fully set up. Just quickly, the majority of the field has gone on the softs. So interesting introductory first tyre. So interesting tyre strategy. Nikolaites has opted to go on the hards, which is, I find, a particular note, because the hards, of course, most hard-wearing tyre, but they are also the most difficult to get heat into. They have the least grip. So certainly at the start of the race, they are going to be struggling hard. So whether we're going for a hard soft strategy or even a hard medium, depending on the wear rate of the circuit, it's certainly going to be one to watch, and we will keep tabs on it from here. But the majority of the field has gone for the soft compound. Of course, as I say, with the combo lobby, drivers have made the agreement that they will set out on the race in the tire compound that they qualified in. So regardless of standings, there was a agreement formed with the consent of all the drivers that if you were in a certain tire for qualifying, that you will use that tire as the first compound for your race. So here we go. We see everyone at the front just trying to get as much heat into those tires, into those softs as they can. Try and get the best getaway. And certainly with the first few laps, you want to maximize your gain to the rest of the field, because if you're stuck in traffic, you will be losing time. So here we go as we come to the end of the formation lap. I'm certainly pretty excited. It's going to be some good racing here, ladies and gentlemen. So for the last time here, I say my name is Sappytron. I'll be your commentator for today. If anyone is joining us here for the race, welcome. I say I'll be your commentator for today. I'll commentate for F1 and also for Forza Motorsport and Horizon. You can find me on Twitch if you are so inclined. And if you are enjoying the show, please do subscribe. We'd love to have you. We've got a couple rounds left, just 2 more rounds after this before we conclude the season. So you will not want to miss it. The Constructors is only heating up from here. And there we go. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And we're away. So it looks to be a pretty good start for the Aston Martin of Cass, getting a very good getaway, very clean. Looks to be a little bit of tussling down at the back. Jelly making a good getaway as well, trying to get around the outside there. Looks to be a very good getaway from both the Aston Martin and the first AlphaTauri. There's already a yellow flag in the first sector. Looks like we've had 2 offs. Cameron and also Nikolaites are already in the gravel traps, and they are very much behind. Not looking good for them so far. So hopping on with Liam here, we're going to see that they are just trying to get their footing on track. So we started to form and fan out. Going to try and find their position on track and try to catch up to those top 3 cars as quick as possible. We've had another off with a Virus. Looks like they span out as well, not really getting used to the dirty air. So here we go. Is it all heating up now? As you can see, the chaos on tracks looks to be some early game moves, trying to get some moves done. So a big tussle around the inner field. As Jelly and Matt trade places and are quickly trading blows with each other. So the opposing leagues, the opposing drivers, DRS is not yet enabled, but we will certainly be seeing some drama coming down the back straight, trying to outbrake each other here. It's a big disparity of the field to say as Matt goes inside to defend, then comes back out, trying to psych out that Mercedes there. Looks like it did pretty well. But here we go. Looking at its initial timestamps, to say looking like some good pace there. The front 3 are starting to build up a gap to the rest of the field. We can see them tightly packed together. The AlphaTauri over Liam just sort of trailing behind. And then we have a bit more of a gap to the rest of the field as we are starting to see the segmentation of the 2 leagues. So first to 5 are currently the F1 League. Ken and Matt say taking up the F2, and then the rest of the field is majority F2 with the exception of drivers like Cameron, who unfortunately had an off. Looks like they're going into the pits for sustaining damage. This is not what you want to see from the McLarens. The McLarens need this race. They need this race for their constructors drive. And so they will need to be on top form today of all days. Capitalize on the Mercedes absence. And oh, looks like Flyboy had a big off there. What happened to them? Looks like they just overcooked it. Doesn't look like they took any damage though, luckily. Managed to resolve it. But will we potentially see them going in for an early pit? Doesn't look like they're suffering from any damage or understeer. So a lucky save there by the Williams driver. Having a quick look around the field, you can see that Matt is probably one of the ones to watch in that Red Bull, as they are going to be trying to encroach on the leads. Oh, getting very squirrely, very out of shape there. Just trying to come out of the back straight hairpin. There you go, Cass with a 135.6, setting a very good race pace. Let's see how the other drivers on track respond, as DRS is now enabled by race control. This is where we start to see a lot of trading blows between the top 3, top 4 drivers. There we go, one toward Flyboy. doing very well, say, on a bit of a recovery drive now from their initial incident. Currently stuck in 5th now behind the first McLaren of Lenny. As you can see, a little bit of understeer there. So potentially a little bit of damage. As you can see, they're consistently understeering on a lot of the lines they can take. That is going to be losing them time. Not to mention the dirty air that is at play. So we go, coming through. So far, in terms of the lead between the two leagues, I say Cass is doing very well to hold the lead thus far. Although that being said, Joshua is going to be coming in hot. Doesn't look like they haven't got enough pace to make the move, however, as Cass is going to be just in the right place. Josh isn't going to have the speed, isn't going to have the overspeed with the DRS, and is going to be able to defend. But Joshua is going to be on the counter-attack. 135.5, 135.1 from Flyboy there, just showing how hard they are pushing to try and regain those spots. Flyboy getting a DRS overtake on Lenny so far. It is looking to be an exciting race. But looking around the rest of the field, say positions 1 through 5 are taken up by the F1 League. So Cash, Joshua, Liam, Flyboy, and Lenny, respectively. Then we have Matt, Kent, and Scotty heading up the F2 division. So a big fight up the front there. So Matt's basically getting away, which is quite surprising. And then we have sort of Rin almost down at the tail end of things. Not really sure what happened to them. I believe that they did suffer a little bit of an off, but is currently trying to recover. Though they are out of DRS range, it looks like they are driving very well, at least for the moment. Then we say Cameron 10th, Coop in 11th in the Alpine. Cameron trading places with Owen down the back. Say Nicolite and Jelly also down the back, where we've had a lot of drivers have offs up and down the track. So here we are, we're going to see hop on with Joshua's POV as they are once again on the attacking end of the field. Going to be challenging for that P1 at any minute now. So it's just about holding the pace. You have the 2 back-to-back DRS zones you need to try and capitalize on. So Cass is going to maintain their lines, going to stay wide, maximize their speed. Of course, Joshua not being able to get the move done in a safe manner, but otherwise doing very well to hold the pace to that Aston Martin. We really are seeing a big battle of the field, although Liam has gone into the pits. Not really sure what has happened to them, but they've taken an early pit stop, potentially sustaining damage. We have already seen a lot of drama, no safety cars, but we have seen a lot of drama from that first session. And oh, Coop has retired. We'll have to quickly hop on with Kent's POV to see exactly what happened. That is going to be a safety car. Just as I say that there are not any safety cars, Coop is going to be fully off the track. That's going to be their race ended. Looks like a big incident. And those yellows are going to be coming out in full force. In a roundabout way, though, this might be a blessing in disguise for the race leaders, potentially being able to claim a free pit stop before the safety car initiates. So there we go. Between that and the other winners, who are going to be everyone at the back of the field, so namely people like Cameron, Owen, Jelly, who all suffered early collisions in the race, are also going to be benefiting from this, because they are going to have a chance to finally catch up to the back of the queue. And with that, this also means that they will have a fighting chance to make it back up the competitive order. You can see pretty much everyone right now is going into the pits. The only exception, in fact, being Liam, given that they just unfortunately took a pit stop just as the safety car came out. If they had gone one lap later, they would have got that pit stop free of charge. But nonetheless, they have taken it. It doesn't affect them too much in the grand scheme of things because they have re-advanced to back up to 6th place in the queue. Here we go. Everyone on the field all taking pit stops, Cameron included, although interestingly Owen is opting not to. And if we look at the tyre compounds, everyone has swapped off the softs, so clearly either a high wear rate on those softs. They wouldn't have lasted another much of a stint because everyone is on the mediums and or hards. Cass trying to keep their car in temperature at the slow speeds. But yes, everyone for the most part is on the mediums. I believe that we'll be seeing a soft, medium, soft strategy for the majority of the field. The only question is if we're going to see any double stacks going up and down the order also. So looking at the back of the field, speaking of, this is going to be prime time for drivers like Cameron to make it back up. Oh, and hang on a second. Not sure what happened there, but it's just got a 5-second penalty dished out for a collision with Jelly. You couldn't see who that was. We will just quickly check back. So there you go, safety car. Yes, but yeah, it was Virus who got a severe warning. Oh, there you go. That is front wing damage. Probably went right into the back of Jelly there, which is unfortunate. So they have got a 5-second penalty, as well as having to go back into the pits to get a fresh new wing. Really unfortunate for that Red Bull there. They are going to be having to go back in just when they thought that they'd regained advantage thanks to the safety car. They're going to hand it straight back. Oh, and there you go. So he's overcooked it in the pit lane. Just to top things off. Really a bad stroke of luck there for that Red Bull. I think as you can see, the over-application of brakes, you can see how that has angered them. So they're going to be serving the penalty there. Serving that 5 seconds. So as we have a quick look. And there we go, penalty served. Interestingly though, that is the only penalty that we have actually seen so far. We haven't seen any track limit infractions. In fact, people have been very careful overall regarding track limits, which is good to see. So here we go, as we can see, their Virus is going to be catching up, essentially forfeiting their advantage. Not sure whether they're going to be able to catch up to the safety car queue in good time, because they still will want to be getting heat into those tyres and weaving like the rest of the field. So they may be able to catch up, but they will be on colds. And while we have this almost downtime, just be sure that if you are enjoying the content and are enjoying what you're seeing, be sure to give the stream a like if you are enjoying it. If you want to catch more and catch our last 2 rounds of the season, then be sure to subscribe and also join the conversation over on Twitter. So we have very active social media accounts. Be sure to join in, or if you have anything to discuss or any photos of the race potentially, be sure to use the hashtag InvictusRL and you'll surely get some notice from our social media team. So there we are, that is the call that safety car is in fact in this lap. Cass is controlling the pace. You can see really just trying to work as much heat into those tyres as possible before we get out and running. Cass is on the hards though, so how well they will be able to defend is a big question that hopefully will get answered. But here we go. It's going to be a pretty good looking start. So Cass is going to get it going. He's going to get the run. Oh, Joshua's going to oversteer. He's going to get into the wall. No, that is going to be both AlphaTauris coming out of the order there. So both Liam and Joshua were in a spot of bother there. What seemingly unshakable both AlphaTauris are now right at the back of the field. They're going to have to put on some Herculean drives if they want to make it back up. Scotty looks like they are suffering a little bit as well, dropping back in a big way. So you are taking a quick look on Callum's POV. So currently up the top end of the order. So a good overtake there from Jelly, placing their car perfectly to get the inside line. Looks like Scotty has really struggled. What has gone on with Scotty there? I believe they may be suffering damage, and yes, they are. They have a missing front end plate because they are understeering severely. Looks like they are going to have to be going back into the pits for a new front wing also. Virus is going to be getting another penalty there for track limit warnings that might have to be added to their total race time at the end. Having a look up and down the field to say we have Cass currently defending their P1 with on the hard tires. You can see big lock up there from the Aston Martin. Just shows you how much grip they are really working with. Then following that we have Lenny, who looks like they are on the medium compounds, quickly chasing down the P1 from the Aston Martin driver. Now DRS has yet to be re-enabled, mind. So at least for this lap and the next lap, drivers are going to be fighting under their own power. But here it goes. Looks like to be a drag race between Boris, Nikolaites, and Owen here. Looks like Boris is going to get a pretty bad line. Going to have to dip onto the grass temporarily. Dropping back down. Nikolaites is going to have the inside line, but Owen's going to have the inside line on the cutback. Boris is going to be using the wide swing to try and get some pace out, but isn't going to be able to hold the pace. Tucking in behind Nikolaites, going to be going for a move potentially. They're on the harder compound, not sure how they're going to manage this. Manage the braking well, but doesn't get the speed. Nikolaites is going to be quickly reholding 12th position. Looks like we've got the most exciting battle of the track right now, as Virus really getting friendly with the Alpine's rear end, not having fun being stuck behind the car. As you can see, they're just looking for ways to get around. So the little micro adjustments, trying to peek their way around, seeing which way they can go. Doesn't look like it's going to be many positions, given that the Alpine is now starting to pull away from them. Having a look up the rest of the field, we have got Liam, so without DRS, is getting past Callum purely on overspeed alone. A little bit of overtake as well. It's a very good move from the AlphaTauri, getting it quickly under control, starting to swing the race back into their favor. Flyboy is going to set a 135 dead on the medium compound, so very impressive there from the Williams. So we are checking back to the front of the field. Interestingly, Cass is starting to feel the effects of that compound disadvantage, given they are now in third place, so they have sacrificed the position to not only the McLaren but the Williams. As you can see, hopping on with the Williams here, they are now going to be chasing down for the lead. It's very good braking control there. A little bit of a correction, so Cass is starting to fall away, but can they keep it in DRS range? So by this point, DRS will be getting reactivated. And the question at this point now is, can Cass, despite their compound woes, will they be able to stay within that range to at least stay in contention of the front two? Looks like so far they're going to do it, and they're going to do it well. So they're staying just within around 8/10 of those front two runners. So there we go, they pass a detection. They're looking behind. DRS is now open, and it's going to be absolutely flying past 205 miles per hour on the speed trap as we head through the back straight. It's going to be a good run there. Not sure what has happened down the field. Looks like Virus is having an absolute nightmare right now, really struggling to get that car under control, and Flyboy is going to be having a 134.9, fastest race pace we've seen so far. Excellently done from that Williams. But now they are on the defensive. That Williams is going to be fighting for their life right now. Looks to be having it under control rather well thus far, but time will tell, especially when we come to DRS, how much that is going to hold up. So far, they are doing the best. Sector 1, can they carry that pace through? McLaren is pushing them right now. But looking on the McLarens, speaking of, the second McLaren of Cameron, looks like they're struggling a little bit by comparison. So a little bit of a wiggle there coming out of the first sector. Getting a little bit squirrely in the papaya car. It's both on the defensive from Liam, who had an off earlier, and now on the attack towards Jelly. One of those is going to have to be compromised. Which one is it? Because just as Cameron is about to likely make a DRS move on Jelly, Liam is going to be trying to take a same slice of that pie. There we go, as if right on cue. DRS is open, the train is live, Kent is on the full defense, Virus is not having a good time, Joshua is off, they are completely off the circuit, not looking good for them. Cameron managed to get a pass done on the Kent there. Kent not having the best time, Jelly managing to stay ahead in that DRS train, and that's going to be a decent lap so far for the McLaren. Coming very close to also making a move on Jelly, but isn't going to make it stick. Although, but they got the inside line. They're going to try and make the move stick through the snaring S's. Jelly getting very bumpy over the curbs there. That is a brilliant move from the McLaren of Cameron there. Very nicely done. McLaren are starting to peel it back, ladies and gentlemen. From what seemed like an impossible task heading into the start of the race and some of the early issues, they are peeling it back now. We've got currently a McLaren in first and in sixth place. Quick brief yellow flag for the second sector. Not sure what's going on there. But we might be seeing a charge back up to the front. It's a brilliant recovery drive so far. And speaking of recovery drives, Liam, who unfortunately had a big off coming out of the safety car period, dropping him and his teammates at the back of the field. Liam is also going to be on the recovery drive right now. The Flyboy looking to have suddenly a very big gap to Lenny there. Not sure what's happened, but it's going to be a DRS overtake on Jelly. Looks to be holding it together. Looks like some rear contact there. May potentially have some damage, because that looked way too close to just be tailing. Much regardless, this is an extremely good pace. This game 1:35.7, so very good race pace overall. Jelly is going to quickly go for the retake though. The second DRS zone, potentially a tactical move by Jelly there. If so, very well played by that Mercedes. Say, allowing the AlphaTauri to pass on the first sector before quickly sweeping back and taking it on the second. Very smart and very fair play. There we go. Focusing in on the second Mercedes of Owen right now, who is from the F2 division in a heated battle with Callum, trying to maintain position. So, of course, they have got quite the fight on their hands, as it looks like they are struggling a little bit with that Mercedes regarding turn-in. But so far, they're doing just what they need to in order to get away from Callum. They need to shake them out of that DRS zone, though. Because if they are within a second, they have a chance of catching back up. And that is the last thing that they need. But having a look at Cameron. Are they going to be within DRS? To say if they pass detection, it's going to be very close. They are right on that line. Right on the line of DRS. But it looks like they've got it. They're back in it. And that is going to be the lifeline that this Aston Martin needs to try and stay in the fight. But hopping on with the second Williams here. Virus has in fact retired. They are completely off track. Looks like they had another spin going in. And we're going to use Scotty's POV as our frame of reference here. Yeah, looks like they had another spin coming onto the back straight, and they had just had enough by that point, which is really unfortunate. 2 DNFs this session. Very unfortunate. Cameron is going to get a drive-through for speeding under the safety car. So far, just as McLaren was starting to get their act together, it looks like now things are starting to become undone. So hopefully they can serve the drive-through under the safety car conditions, but that is still going to be a potential compromise, given that we look at tyre health, and we might be coming up to the point where a lot of drivers are trading in their tyres. So we might see soft, medium, medium at this point. I fully see it happening. There we go, hopping back on with the rest of the field here. So to give you an update on our current standings, as of right now, with the F1 League, in first place we have Lenny, second place we have Flyboy Cass, following shortly behind. Cameron in fourth place, but is yet to serve a drive-through penalty, so we will likely see that drop by a few. We have Rin in fifth, Jelly in sixth, Liam in seventh, and then Joshua in eighth, with Coop out in ninth place. And then coming off the F2 League, we have, say, Matt's currently in first. We have Kent in second, Callum in third, Nicholas in fourth, Scotty in fifth, and Virus with a DNF in sixth place. But that is your order. So you can see everyone coming through the pits here, looking to either swap their tyres or serve their penalties. As it doesn't look like Cameron is going to be coming in. Callum is going to be getting 5 second for speeding in the pit lane. But looks like Cameron is going to be prioritizing track position. So an interesting strategy there. So looking at the current penalties board now, say we have a 3 second on the board for Flyboy, say for multiple warnings for track limits. A 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane for Callum, and then a drive-through for speeding under the safety car for Cameron. When and where they will serve these, we do not know. Otherwise, in the case of timed penalties, they will be added onto their race time at the end. Mats is back in F2 now, not F1 tier. Am I making a mistake? If I'm making a mistake, I apologize. I'll quickly check. Quickly check. So luckily we have our downtime here to check. Okay, so a mistake has been made on my part. So I do apologize. I've been mistakenly saying that Matt is in the F2 League. They are in fact in the F1. So that is a mistake on my part. I do apologize. So to update the standings, we have positions 1 through 8 are all in the F1 tier, with, say, Joshua in 9th and Coop in 10th. And then coming off of that, say we have Ken, Owen, Callum, Nicola, Scotty, and Virus in that order for the F2 League. So low turnout for the F2 League, which is unfortunate, but luckily with the combo lobbies, it still makes racing interesting. So thank you for that, Richard. That is my mistake. Thank you for letting me know. As we see everyone queuing up now. So Scotty was taking a pit stop just before the safety car came in, so luckily they have a chance to catch up. We have seen a lot of incidents, it has to be said. We've seen a lot of incidents throughout this race so far, whether that is simply losing control or otherwise. A lot of pit stops have been made for repairs. Unfortunately, Way with Working can't make the F2 race tonight, so it's not a problem. We understand people have lives to deal with, they have work to deal with, and that is completely fine. But here we go, taking a look overall, just to get a measurement of pace. So we're going to quickly look at the fastest laps of everyone. So overall, we've seen a fairly decent spread of pace, although not as wide as one may think. As I say, even the slowest of the F2 drivers are only just clocking in the 37s. We really are only seeing a spread of around 3 seconds, which is very impressive pace-wise. Say around 3 to 4 seconds across the entire track is nothing to snuff at. So currently peak pace from F1 is a Flyboy with a 134.7. It's a fastest lap, which is very impressive, especially in the race trim and on the medium compound. Very impressive. And then peak pace for the F2 League looks to currently be in the hands of Owen with a 136.2. So very good pace all round overall, but we've seen some sort of red herrings. So like Joshua had a mistake and was much further behind, but they are still on very good pace. They are still on 135 pace, which is on par with some of the leaders. But here we go, getting back into the racing now. Cameron is setting the pace. They are with their teammates. It is currently a McLaren 1-2. Whether that will last with the drive-through is yet to be seen, but we are back in racing trim, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to hit it back up. Flyboy is not looking good, and neither is Cass. Cass looks like they've been having a couple running issues. It didn't get quite the best start. Looks like them and Mats are going to be having a little bit of contact, a little bit of a back and forth. Couple of tyre bumps with each other. Looks to be very congested. So Flyboy's going to have no choice but to yield and get out of the way to save themselves from getting any further contacts with other drivers. Going to be peeking down the inside, taking a narrow line. Not quite going to get the speed. As a result, they can't make the move. They're going to be dropping a little bit behind the rest of the front runners. Looking at, say, Jelly coming down the field, say, quickly catching up to everyone else in the F1 division. Are we going to be seeing them making any moves? It looks like they are squaring up to try and overtake Rin, who is having a little bit of car control trouble. By the looks of it, dipping their wheels onto the outrun. I say, is Callum getting a 3-second penalty there for track limit warnings. So it looks like also Owen in the F2 division is going to be making some moves. There we go. DRS yet to be reactivated. Looks like Flyboy is going to be making a run around the outside, so Cass is going to be a late break. They're going to go too deep, however. Cass is going to hold the position. He's going to stake their claim to the track. Flyboy has no choice but to yield and dip back to 5th. We're certainly having a fight heating up here, folks. You can see the clear division that is starting to form between F1 and F2 right now. So you have 1st to 8th almost in an echelon of their own, and then you have, say, Kent a couple seconds behind in a battle with Owen. Of course, battling means you are losing time. But speaking of battling, well, looks like we are seeing Joshua try to make the charge up to the front of the grid again as they take the move against Callum and back up to 11th place now. Looks like they're going to have to be putting in the drive of their life. They have 10 laps to go in this race here in Shanghai. And they're going to be putting in the drive of their life. You can already see the tents just falling away as they try and peel away from the cars behind and try to catch up to the cars in front. Looks like Callum is going to be getting another warning, though. Another 3-second penalty, which is going to be added to their race time. Jumping on board, though, with Rin, who is going to be on the catch-up right now, trying to get up to the rest of the field. DRS has yet to be activated, but drivers do still have the slipstream. Is anyone going to be taking advantage of it? It looks like Cass is going to be trying to make some of the pace. Isn't going to go for a move, though, on Mats. He is not going to be going for the move on Mats, though. So, although that being said, Cameron is going to go into the pits now of all times, right as DRS gets re-enabled. They're going to pick now to go into the pits and I believe to serve their drive-through. Yep, there we go. You can see them crawling through the pits. They are right down to the back of the field now. That's very unfortunate. Hopefully Lenny can hold the flag and take P1 for the team, because like we've been saying, throughout the race and throughout the start to the end of this session. McLaren needs the points, especially in the F1 League. Drivers need to capitalize on the lack of leaders, with, let's say, Amir, our driver's champion, not being present, and neither is their teammate Frederick. McLaren, if they want to capitalize on this, it looks like they are going to need these points. What has happened to Flyboy here? It looks like they had a massive off, because they have gone all the way down to 10th here. So it looks like they had a massive off there, lost a ton of speed, and basically dropped behind the entire grid. And they will also now have to be on the recovery drive to get back to their former position. It's going to be a move from Cass to say DRS is now activated, which means we're going to see those speeds soaring. It's going to be a good move. A little bit of a lock up there from the Aston Martin, but they've got the move done very nicely. Now they're on the defense, however. Can they keep Mats out of the position for the retake? They're going to have DRS. Cass going to say a 134.5. That is astounding pace from the Aston Martin there. And Matt is just not going to have a response. They are not going to be having a response there. Callum, not sure what's happened there with Callum. I think they just sent it into the wall. And that is them done. That is going to be another safety car call. Was that a purposeful? Was that a purposeful crash, or was that an accidental misinput? Potentially a controller disconnection. Who knows? But either way, we're going to be seeing the third safety car of the session here, ladies and gents. We have got 8 laps to go. We have got tyres, for the most part. Say a lot of drivers actually took advantage in the previous safety car to switch to fresher mediums. Now comes the gamble of whether drivers are going to be swapping, whether they are going to be swapping to a fresh set, going for potentially a long soft stint, or if they're going to stick with their mediums to the end of the race. The gamble is here. But in terms of winners and losers, say Kent and Owen both going to get drive-throughs for speeding under the safety car, which they'll have to immediately serve. That is completely going to destroy their race here. I imagine that they will have to be serving them pretty much immediately if they want any chance of keeping up and catching up to the field. Callum, unfortunately, they got 11 seconds worth of penalties that they will be adding on to the rest of their race time. So there you go, you can see everyone peeling off into the pits here. Liam getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane that they will have to be serving. Which you can see in the case of the drive-throughs. Say Owen is in fact opting to stay out, so a curious strategy there. Although Kent looks like they have gone into the pits to try and serve it. So looking at, you can see the right down the back of the grid. So unfortunately Kent cannot serve the drive-through penalty while under safety car conditions. They'll have to wait until race conditions in order to serve that penalty, which I'm sure is going to be pretty infuriating given that they just came out on softs. But looking up and down the field, we're seeing a clear divide. So we are seeing a big mix-up at the front of the field. Owen in 4th, although they will have to serve their drive-through. Everyone at the front is opting to stay on the mediums, has opted to prioritize track position over going for a fresh set of soft, where you have both McLarens, so say drivers like Lenny, Cameron, say Liam, all opting for the softer compound and going for a last-minute charge to secure as many positions as they can. Because we are going to, remember, we are going to be coming out of the safety car potentially on lap 23. So drivers will only have around 5 laps to make it count. So we're going to have this lap to catch up to the queue and make it make some heat get into those tires. You see the amount of stops. Scotty with a 4-stop race really was suffering here today with the amount of damage and incidents for a lot of these drivers here. But yeah, keep all things considered, they will have a lap to catch up to the queue and get some heat into those tires, and then they only have 5-ish laps to actually make those softs count. So it is going to be a real charge for some of the back markers to make up the positions that they have. So Owen opting to swap tires. Again, it cannot serve the drive-through penalty under safety car conditions. They'll have to wait until race conditions. As you can see, all the drivers just trying to keep as much heat in those compounds, especially at the front of the grid, as possible. And I guess this is your reminder, once again, say for anyone who is joining us in the tail end of the race, if you are enjoying what we have on show here today, if you are enjoying the racing, enjoying what we do, be sure to give us a subscribe, maybe like the stream. If you are enjoying it, if you don't enjoy it, give us a dislike. Tell us what you think. And also be sure to check us out elsewhere. So for example, of course, we have our YouTube channel. We also have very active Twitters, multiple Twitter accounts. So if you are on Twitter, you want to join the conversation, use the hashtag InvictusRL, and we will certainly be featuring some with our social media teams. But with that all being said, safety car is officially in this lap. So once again, it's going to be a very familiar car setting the pace. As the safety car peels off, is going to be Cameron getting a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. Is a really just the icing on the cake for the McLaren there. But I was going to say Cass is setting the pace here. Once again, getting the lead out, prioritizing track position, not opting to swap those mediums out. And as we come on to lap 23, the last few laps, Mats is going to try and get as close as they possibly can. But there you go, Cass is going to get the run. Oh no, it's going to be an over-rotation. It's going to be a spin for Cass. No, they pushed it too hard on the set-off. Not looking good at all for that Aston Martin. That is tragic. They've gone from first to last here, and they're going to be in the fight of their lives. Now, the absolute fight of their lives to try and get those positions back. Having a look up the front of the field to say, looks like we've got lots of battles heading up. We've got the battle of the Alpine and the Williams. Say Nicolai's having to yield to McLaren. Liam going for a very daring move, going around the outside of Ken and tucking back in to get the position. Very smoothly done. Looks like we're going to have a bit of a tussle between Rin and Joshua. They're getting very close, very couple personal with each other. Cameron will get that penalty removed. He'll remove it unfairly. Yeah, so stewards' decisions are... yes, of course, stewards will have the final say. Some penalties are dished out unfairly. Some will be removed or rescinded. That is at stewards' discretion, and of course they will evaluate at the end of the race. So it must be said that a lot of our positions, say for the most part, they are set in stone, but in the case of some drivers getting penalties, they should be considered as provisional. There you go. Lenny is going to get a very good move on the Red Bull there. Say on the softer compound, trying to make the charge to the front. Looks like that strategy is working out for them because they are absolutely flying right now. They are setting some heated pace, and there's a 133.8. Brilliant showing from that McLaren right there. Although it looks like a loser from all of this is Kent, because they are going back into the pits, and so is Cass. Cass is going to be opting to go into the pits and swap out for softs. Do they potentially get any damage? We couldn't really tell, as we have brief yellows for sector 1 and 3, which is probably a little bit of a bug. You see Jelly yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on there. A VSC has been deployed as Callum has been DNF from the session, and Mats has been disqualified for going the wrong way. So that is not only going to be a VSC, but a full SC. Cass is gone into the pits and has opted to retire also. That is 5 non-finishers. I cannot believe I'm saying this. This is 5 non-finishers and a safety car in the last 5 laps of the race. This race has honestly seen some of the most interesting twists and turns in terms of storyline that we have probably ever seen in a race so far. There we are, just checking in. And just checking in with the paddock, see what's going on there. There's full safety car is deployed. See it. We have in order. So let's go in order real quick. We have Liam going into the pits. Very curious. Not sure what's going on there. Nikolaites is also going to be going into the pits, although that is understandable. They are on 8-lap old mediums, and they will be wanting to maximize their pace for the last stint with drivers coming back together. Interestingly, though, Rin and Joshua on 9 and 10-lap old mediums are opting not to go back into the pits. Yes, they are opting not to go back into the pits, despite being on a very old medium compound of tyre. But looking around, everyone bar those 2 is on the softs, and everyone is going to be looking to make a last-minute charge for the finish, as our safety car guides us round. Yeah, so Cameron basically has no penalties. And speaking of penalties, yes, so Cameron looks like they will have that penalty rescinded. Flyboy, though, will have a 3-second penalty for track limits, and Owen will still have their drive-through upheld by the looks of things for speeding under the safety car. Although that being said, it is subject to steward's review. But looking up and down the field, of the 11 drivers that we currently have on track still, only 4 of them are F2. So we have seen, in fact, though, we have seen more retirements in F1 than F2. We've seen 3 retirements slash DNFs in F1, that being, say, Cass, Coop, and Mats, and then Callum and Byrus both getting DNF slash removed from the race. So say leaving in first place we have Lenny, second place with Rin, third Joshua, fourth Jelly, fifth Flyboy, sixth Cameron, although those positions will likely be swapped given that Cameron will have their penalty likely rescinded. And then you can see everyone sort of fanning out, trying to keep as much heat in those tires as possible. Yeah, so first to sixth, there is your order, and then we have, say, 7th place, we have Liam right at the back of the queue. Went in for fresh softs, so we will definitely be seeing them making the fight of their lives going through. But in terms of F2, say we have an Owen lead, although they do have yet to serve a drive-through. Scotty in 2nd place, Nikolaites in 3rd, and Kent in 4th. So very good showing from the Haas team. It is a very good showing from the Haas team. Consistently, we have seen that team pull through and do some very good things. And looks like it's going to be no different here. And on that note, winners and losers. Chat, I would love to hear your opinions as we come through to the last few laps. Winners and losers of this race. So who do you think came out the best? Who do you think had the worst luck? I would love to hear your thoughts. So personally, I believe that the winners definitely have to be the Haas team in F2. So they have survived the gauntlet, they are doing very well, and looks like they are on track for a 1-3, if not a 1-2 post penalties. There we go. As we get the call, safety car is to be called in this lap. We have 2 laps left of running. It's going to be a last 2-lap shootout. There we go. As Lenny comes to set the pace, Rin is itching to go. They're on the older compound. You can see him trying to pull alongside. Now, absolutely raring to go. But this is all to play for, folks. We have 11 drivers, 2 leagues, 2 laps, all to play. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm definitely on the edge of my seat. But here we go. Lenny is setting the pace. They're on the softs. They've got 2 medium drivers behind them. They surely will be starting to feel some pace fall off sooner rather or later. But who's going to crack first? Is it going to be the McLarens, the Williams, the AlphaTauris, F1, F2? So McLaren need this race more than ever. Constructors is on the line for them. Cameron is going to have to get back up to the top of the field and fast. Lenny is setting the pace, and it is a good getaway for the McLaren here. So on the chase right away is Rin, giving them absolutely no time to react. So going to hold the pace very well and really having to be on full defense. This is going to be a Herculean team effort right now. You see, looking back there, with that soft compound, they're starting to get a little bit of a lead on the field. DRS is not going to be coming into play this time, so that is only going to be on driver's merit alone. Flyboy is going to have to be on the defense as well. It looks like Cameron is going to be making a charge, taking the inside line. It's a very good move from that McLaren, and you can see them pushing out. Jelly is going to go off the field, however. They're going to be falling behind very quickly. They're going to be bumping, a little bit of contact between them and Flyboy as Jelly makes a mistake, rushing to reclaim those positions. Your desperation, you can read it on that front wing, as everyone is scrambling to salvage as much of a race as they can. Liam making a very good move, up in 8th place now. They come from the back of the field, absolutely charged through the F2 running order, about to overtake Scotty as well in a pure showing of dominance. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. The absolute charge. What an outlap from Liam there, going from 11th to 7th in a single lap, overtaking an entire league in what felt like a nothing move. So we got taking a look here. So Joshua looks like they've got a good run here. So they're going to start to have a little bit of a lead on the second McLaren, but the second McLaren is also on fresher tires and on soft tires, so they have compound advantage. But are we going to see that tires start to fall away? We can't tell just yet. That gap has very quickly shrunk. So Joshua's going to get a little bit squirrely. No, Cameron's in the spin. Cameron's in the wall. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Cameron is in the wall on the last lap. They have bottled it. I cannot believe this. They push it just too hard in the last lap, the first sector. They have completely compromised what was an excellent charge. I'm sure that they're going to be very angry coming back into the office. And there we go. Speaking of, Lenny is going to be dropping behind also. Not sure what happened there, but I'm surely getting distracted by the teammate. Big contact between them and Joshua. A lot of bumping. Not sure if there's damage involved, but they're going to quickly be trying to charge back up to second. Rin is going to be the surprise getaway. Looks like Lenny may have overcooked it and outbraked themselves. But Rin, despite all odds, on the older tires, is going to be coming away. Unless something crazy happens now. And Lenny is also spun. Lenny has also spun. The McLarens, from what seemed like a perfect race, have completely lost it in the last lap. Both McLarens spinning, pushing it too hard, and suffering the price. Rin is the surprise, the standout winner of the Chinese Grand Prix. A Williams driver who's shown excellent pace throughout their entire season thus far. And finally, it came to fruition for them. After an inconsistent start and a brilliant showing of pace, the Williams take it home. Driver of the day for Rin also. Excellent performance. Well, what a finale to the race. What we were looking at absolute McLaren dominance. That is definitely going to be a race to remember, ladies and gentlemen. Do we do post-race interviews? Do we have a voice channel that we can quickly host them in? Front row lockout for F2 McLaren? Potentially. Of course, we will have to see the driver's standings after that. But there we go. There is your final race standings, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe what we just saw. What a finale. So both McLarens coming from seemingly insurmountable odds, making the charge back up the field, only to drop it at the last lap. You cannot write this. Oh dear. I need to second to breathe, because my god, what a race that was. Definitely what a race that was. But so far, provisionally, say McLaren absolutely bottling it at the last second. Say China being an unforgiving race to drivers left, right, and center. But what a race that was, folks. I definitely did not predict that. That is definitely going to be one of probably the craziest moments, or like the most insane moments of the PC season. I am struggling to process what just happened. I'm definitely struggling to process what just happened there, because that was insanity. Absolute insanity there. But to decompress, to decompose, I'm seeing in the chat with some wild reactions. Some very wild reactions there from the chat. Come back for P1. You say, yeah, brilliant race there from both leagues alike. I say, well, of course, we were focusing on the massive battle in the F1 league, but the F2, that also had some crazy happenings. As I say, Scotty, say you're in the chat. Excellently done, my friend. Very excellently done. Ryan is on Discord telling he won't win. Yep. I'd say just looking at that now. Of course, according to the race stats, which is ultimately the one that we base ourselves off of. Just keep in mind, everyone, that when we talk about race standings, when we talk about post-race, in terms of the commentating, we are talking about provisional. So we are talking about pre-penalty. We are talking about, to say, pre-review. So just like any penalties will get removed by stewards, they can also be issued for things like starting up too early. But we will be reporting on them as they are accurate to the time. But, whew. Wow. Well, I definitely hope that you enjoyed that, chat, because that was a very exciting race that we just had there. In terms of the rest of the season, we only have 2 rounds left. To say rules are rules. They have been instituted for a long time, and they are what we adhere to at the end of the day. There we are. But we only have 2 rounds left, that being the Hungaroring and then finishing off at the iconic Silverstone circuit. So definitely be sure to join us next week. Say it is all to play for. We are coming to the last races of the season. Be sure to subscribe. Do not go anywhere, because this is where at least the Constructors' Championship heats up. Even with McLaren's blunder today, they have still got a chance. This is still anyone's championship to take. So everyone needs to be on board for this, because I cannot wait to be in the commentary box for those next 2 races. Just to clarify, so we will be running combination lobbies for the foreseeable rest of the season. So if you've enjoyed the format, be sure to give us a thumbs up. But failing that, I am going to sign out. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the stream if you enjoyed that insane finish. And we will see you next week, next Wednesday, with me in the commentary box for the PC League Hungarian Grand Prix. It's been a pleasure. My name is Sappytron for the last time this evening. You can find me on Twitch if you are so interested. And I will see you in the Hungarian for the Hungary Grand Prix. Good night.